Okay, everybody. Hi. What camera am I looking at? Camera 2. Okay, we're straight ahead. My name is Andrew Champagne.
And I'm Owen Doherty.
We are them. We have been doing prep on this. Owen said he watched a 2-hour documentary. I looked through some old books. I got to see Jimmy Carter 3 times and shook his hand when I was 13 years of age in Hartford, Connecticut. That was quite a day. It was actually his birthday. It was October 1st, 1976. Before we go national, and President Carter would say, hey, it better be international, because he was a Nobel Prize winner, Peace Prize winner. I need to talk a couple things. I think everybody knows watching this that Burlington and the surrounding towns are small town, small community. And before we start with the Jimmy, I'm just going to talk about my dear friend Sergei Ulanov, who passed away. He was Nectar's sound man for 30 years. Now, he came over as part of a cultural program in the 70s and 80s, and that was the work of President Ford and President Carter and President Reagan. Sergei passed away this week very unexpectedly. He leaves 3 children, including one in Mother Russia. He was a wonderful friend of mine. He loved to mix music loud, so bands loved him. He toured. He literally recorded thousands of nights of music, and he was a very kind man, very, very kind, very much a son of Mother Russia, very proud of his country. And we always used to talk, and he's just a great friend. So, Sergei, rest in peace. God bless you. Try not to tear up here. You know, I've been working on and off to Nectars and Metronomes since about 1999 or 2000, so this one hits hard. We're going to turn it over to a town topic, but also I'm going to introduce again Owen Doherty. Owen Doherty is a member of the executive committee of the State Democratic Party. He was also a delegate to Chicago. He's doing important and vital work in the constituent office of Congresswoman Becca Balint, and also is very involved in Democratic politics. I want you to take it over and let's talk about, we had a caucus on last Sunday, January 5th. Yeah. And I want you to take it from there, buddy.
Yeah, last Saturday
Where was
the Democratic caucus. It was virtual, and some people came in person at Fletcher Free Library, and about 500 people participated in the Democratic caucus this year.
500?
Which is great.
I think it was actually over 500, 530
yeah,
or something.
530, 510, 550,
Excellent.
Somewhere around there. Over 500 people participated, and plenty of those people voted, and they have some great candidates for the March 4th Town Meeting Day, which is 50 days away.
50 days away today.
So 49 tomorrow.
Okay, let's talk about a few things. Everyone in Burlington that is registered to vote is going to be mailed a ballot. So that's great. Now let's tell them about the myriad. I always wonder how that's pronounced. I can read it, but
myriad.
I don't. Myriad. Thank you. I knew I'd learn something today.
I think.
Tell people how they can vote. Sure, they can.
Lots of ways you could vote. You could go in person on Town Meeting Day, March 4th, from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. at your polling location. That's one way you could do it.
Okay, the polls again, please. Let's repeat that. 7 a.m. to 7 p.m.
7 a.m. to 7 p.m. at your polling location.
You want to go over the polls?
Which is in your neighborhood. Oh, they won't remember on March 4th now. We should do that next episode too.
Okay, we are right now in Ward 2 in the historic Old North End. I live in Ward 3. Owen, you live in Ward 5. Okay. So to explain, there are 12 city councilors.
Yep.
And a few years ago, so they didn't have to vote each other off, they decided to go down to 16 and 12. And what they did is they have 8 wards. So each councilor has a ward. And then there are 4 super wards. They're 1 and 8, 2 and 3, 4 and 7, and 5 and 6. Now, so those councilors, even though they have no more power than any other councilor, or no more voting power or influence, they are actually representing 2 wards. And so what we did to break it up is 1 year, the 8 city councilors will run. That was last year. So we only have 4 races this year. And let's go over those, Owen. Why don't you break it down?
We have the North District.
Okay, explain to that. Okay.
North District is like everything north of like the police station almost, or I think it's a little further.
High school, maybe?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit closer than that. Like the police station essentially on North Ave up to all the way to tip of Burlington.
All the way to Star Farm Road.
On both sides of North Ave. So that's represented by Mark Barlow, who is a current city councilor.
Does a great job.
Running for re-election as a Democrat. And currently there's no progressive on the ticket, but they have until the end of the month to file. In Central District, which is like the old North End.
Enormous.
Like downtown, all the way to like Maple Street almost, I think, or maybe King Street.
Right.
Is
the real heart of the city.
Yeah, represented by Milo Grant and
Milo is a progressive.
Yeah, progressive, running for re-election. Currently has no Democratic opponent, but we're looking for one if you're interested in running in the Central District. Right. And then there's the East District, which is Ward 8 and 1. So the
Okay,
East
let's
End,
talk about that. UVM.
Yeah, UVM.
For any of our UVM friends out there tonight.
South Prospect.
Riverside.
Down
by all the way to the library.
And then all the way down to the library, Buell Street, Bradley Street, those kind of streets there.
That district,
and kind of over to Champlain as well now.
You know, that district has been historically represented by two great friends of ours. Former Councilor Adam Roof, who is now executive director of the Massachusetts Democratic Party. Knowing him, he's going to see this somehow. And also our dear friend, the Queen, Hannah King, who was a city councilor in that ward. The progressives are in that ward now. Ward 8 is by far the most liberal. They were very, very affected, and they voted on the whole Middle Eastern situation. It's funny how an international situation came to play in a city council meeting. You want to talk a little about that? It's very interesting.
No, I don't have
it
much
wasn't
to
great.
say on it.
It wasn't great. Hannah is our friend, and Hannah is also, I want to congratulate Hannah. Miss King has been elected vice chair of the Burlington Democratic Party, and her future is so bright, and I always thank her on this show. She was integral to Owen and I getting elected to go to Chicago for the convention, and she was also there doing great staff work for Congresswoman Ballant. Okay, so 1 and 8. We've done 4 and 7. We've done 2 and 3. Here's an open seat, and why don't we talk about Joan? How great she is.
Well, the East District, we haven't talked about the candidates.
Yes.
Well, the East District was represented by Tim Doherty, who resigned to be a judge because he was.
Congratulations, Judge Doherty.
Yeah, congratulations.
Hi to Sam, his son, who's our pal.
Yeah, so it's open, and it's going to be between the Democrat, whose name is Allie, and she is the
Allie Schachter,
and she's the Director of Development at the Flynn. And then I believe Kathy Olwell, is.
I'm sorry, I've heard that name. I don't know her.
I think she may be a justice of like a city clerk or something, or a ward
She
clerk.
works I believe she's a ward clerk in 1. Now, Allie, I'll tell you a little about Allie. Allie's a friend of mine. Allie works at the Flynn. She's very involved in arts. She has a homeowner. She and her husband have 2 young children. She's a Harvard and Michigan graduate. She really cares about Burlington families. She's sending her 2 young kids to Burlington schools. And she's also a fellow in the Emerge program, which is a program for women and non-binary people who wish to run for Democratic office. We'd like to say hello to our friend Elaine Haney, who is head of Emerge and also our national committee woman. And she is working with Allie. Owen and I just volunteered him, is going to be walking around with Allie. I certainly am. Would you like to come with us?
Sure.
We like Allie. This is a seat that I think the Democrats can pick up. Now let's talk about the seat that I think will probably have the most fervent competition. Right down in your neighborhood, South End, my friend.
South End in the South District. Incumbent City Councilor Joan Shannon is not running for re-election this year. Thank you for like 20 plus years of service, Joan. Since 2004.
Oh,
longer, I think. No?
Owen,
doesn't matter.
I was thinking, she has literally attended, I'm guessing, way over 2,000 meetings, because she was on the Board of Finance, and the Board of Finance does the inner workings of the City Council. It's kind of the executive council of the City Council. it's interesting. They have a meeting at 5 o'clock, and that's kind of where the real work gets done sometimes. Miss Joan Shannon is a wonderful person. She cares deeply about Burlington. I'd also like to say hello to her amazing daughter, Julia Shannon Grillo, who is at Columbia School of Journalism, probably winning the Pulitzer Prize, investigating the mayor. And Joan's husband, he and I are both graduates of Trinity College down in Hartford. He's a little older. And I also want to thank Joan. She contributed to my campaign to Chicago. Joan, 20 years on the council, Owen. How old are you? 27? So you were in first grade. And she's been on the council Monday night after Monday night.
25.
You're only 25?
I want that on the record.
Okay. So this is like Hollywood. We're aging you older here. You're only 25?
Yeah.
Okay.
Last I checked.
Joan wasn't afraid to stand up to other councilors or the mayor. She always told you where she stood. She always explained where she stood. She's an honest, wonderful person. And we would both really like to thank Miss Joan Shannon for all her years of work. I don't think your public service is over, my friend. I could see you in the assembly. I could see you on many city, state boards. You and I, we had a great time on Board of Tax Appeal. Now, people are saying, how can you have fun on Board of Tax Appeal? It's actually very interesting because you meet a lot of people, you see a lot of people's houses. You're also able to help a lot of people. Joan was an excellent, excellent addition to Board of Tax Appeals, as was not yet, Mark, Councilor Mark Barlow. Okay, so we went over that. Let's do this again one more time. 1 and 8, we have our friend Ali Schachter, who we both enthusiastically endorse. Correct? Do 2 and 3, please. Still waiting on a candidate.
Yeah, Milo Grant running for re-election.
Okay.
And in the North District, Mark Barlow running for re-election.
Incumbent.
And then in the South District, it's Buddy Singh, and I'm not sure the progressive.
Her name is Jen Zakara.
Jen.
And we, Buddy gave a great speech at the nominating convention, and we will be supporting him. He's a very interesting guy. Got a great story, long time South End. South End is, everybody knows everybody. So that's going to be decided by these candidates knocking on doors, calling people, using social media. So if somebody knocks on your door, it's a cold February, cold January, bring them in for a cup of coffee, listen to them. Even if you're not voting for them, give them some respect and some time. Now let's talk about the ways you can vote. You can vote by mail, okay? Now that's a stamped envelope that they put on that. You must sign and date the envelope. Correct, Owen?
Yep.
Let's talk. Why don't you talk about the other ways that we can do it?
You can vote by mail, so you'll get your ballot in the mail, or you can request one if there's some sort of issue.
Okay, the number at City Hall is 865-7000. You can also, we'll have 35 days of early voting. Let's talk about going to City Hall and voting.
Walk into City Hall and request a ballot and just get it right there during business hours. You can also drop your ballot off at City Hall or in a drop box. There's a few of them around the city, or you can vote in person on March 4th.
Now let's say you get your ballot. One, it gets lost. I mean, I never forget. It always breaks me when sometimes I'll see ballots in a recycling bin, because I live in a student neighborhood and the students have moved from one year to the next. Now let's talk about updating your registration. You can go to City Hall. You can update your registration. We have same-day registration at the polling place. So, this is an important election. This is a commentary on where you want the council to go. We have some distinct visions between the progressives and the Democrats. Mayor Emma, and hey, it'd be easy for me to sit here and knock her, but I think she's done a pretty good job, and she's a friend of mine. So even though she's a progressive, I'm always rooting for the city. I did a wedding the other day, and she was so gracious to the guests. And Emma, good luck to you. We might disagree with you, but we'll disagree respectfully with you. You're an honest, hardworking person who lives just a few blocks from here. Now, there's someone who knows the Old North End. This show is not about talking up Progs, though. I cannot do that. I will be kidnapped. This show is about Democrats. Mark Barlow, here's what's interesting, Owen. He's previously run as an independent. Mm-hmm. So that's huge. He's running as a Democrat. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I think that he just, he's represented the North End as the New North End, I guess.
New North End.
We call it.
05408.
Independent for many years, but he's always, I think, caucused with the Democrats and worked with people on both sides of the aisle, and I think he could probably still continue to do that as a Democrat as well.
The thing up in the New North End is you have a lot of older people, you have a bunch of conservative people up there, you have a bunch of Republicans up there. Now, as we saw in the election, the Republican votes count just fine, don't they? And
yeah.
What area in the city, I think you know this, I'm setting you up, but I think you'll know this, what area votes the highest percentage?
The New North End.
By far.
Yeah.
Downtown, it can be very transitory. Now, any students that are watching this program, let's say you lived in Living and Learning, or you lived in Redstone, but you're down on Hickok Place, or you're down on Brooks Ave, or you're rocking it down on Howard Street, or you're, I'm trying to think, on Pearl Street, or Colchester Avenue. You can re-register to vote at the polls. Now, most students will be voting in one of three wards. Ward 1, which is Mater Christi School, right across from the Red Cross. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's right off Colchester Ave on 100 Mansfield Avenue. They will also be voting in Ward 2, which is at the Community Center on Allen Street in the heart of the Old North End. They'll also be voting in 3, I will be at the polls, which is at the Sustainability Academy on North Street, and then tell them about Ward 8.
Ward 8 at Fletcher Free Library.
Which we love.
Great library.
As I said, our friends Hannah and Adam did a great job representing them. And now that ward has different interests. That ward, why the Old North End is the most conservative. Now I think...
New North End.
Right. I've been told that to the right of North Ave is more conservative than the left. Now I don't know that. But I know in Ward 8, the students work on things like they're very interested in like rent issues. They're very, very interested in the terrible calamities that's going on in the Middle East. And they're standing up for human rights. And, I don't know, this show is not about international politics, and I'm a big supporter of Israel, but too many people have died, too many young people have died. And hopefully in this last week of President Biden's, he might be able to pull out a ceasefire. What do you think, Owen? We got a shot.
That would be tremendous accomplishment.
Because they owe Joe. Okay. Before we get to Jimmy Carter, we got to talk about another lion, Joe Biden.
Yeah. Wrapping up his term this week.
Now,
on the 20th.
I've been a delegate for him twice. Owen's been a delegate for him once. Unfortunately, he dropped out and we became Kamala Harris delegates. And you know what? Hey, I know she's not watching this, but maybe some friend of a friend of a friend of a friend, because she has a lot of friends. I saw in Chicago, I actually met some people that knew her, and they said how wonderful a person she was. My great vice president, keep your head up. We appreciate you. We love you. For you to come as close as you did in 15 weeks. Oh, in 15 weeks. Unprecedented.
It's incredible.
Jimmy Carter ran for 2 years.
Yeah.
There she is. I think she's great. And I am going to try, and Owen's going to try, we're going to try to bring the vice president to Vermont. I'd like to bring her to UVM. What do you think? She would love it.
That would be great.
Sometimes...
I hope she gets a little break between there.
Yes. Now, here's one thing that we learned in Chicago at the convention is that Vermont, I've talked about this before, Vermont is a state where there's about 10 states that people are fascinated by. California, Colorado, Virginia, New York, Vermont. I'm missing a few, but they're special. They're special. And when we were walking around or going to parties or just talking to people at the convention, you guys are from Vermont. Yeah. What were the 3 things? Ben & Jerry's, fish.
Yeah, fish.
And who's our man?
Sanders.
Hey, I need a picture of our man up, but just reelected to his 4th term as a United States Senator. Boy, nobody's man but his own and ours. Proud of him. Thank you, Senator Sanders. Thank you, Jane. Thanks, Karina. Thanks, Heather. Thanks, Dave. Levy, Ryan Garvey, all the wonderful people. There's a very fine man. His comments about President Carter were unbelievable. Okay, so President Biden is in his last week. And as you know, hey, look, we're hosting a Democratic show and we're Democratic delegates, so we're partial. But I think the world of him. He reminds me a little bit of my late father, his integrity, his honor, his sense of family. There's a man who didn't waste a second. He talked about at President Carter's obituary, don't waste a moment. Live your life to the fullest. President Biden, you're going into retirement. There you are. I love you. I think you're great. You're one of the best presidents of my lifetime. Maybe the best. I think you, President Obama, and President Clinton. So we'd like to thank you. You've been to Vermont many times. Senator Leahy, I'm sure on your doing, was invited to the Jimmy Carter. I ran into Senator Leahy, and I'd like to say hello to Senator Leahy and Mrs. Leahy. And Senator Leahy, I don't think I mind sharing with you, he went to Washington for the memorial service. And, you know, I was talking to him, and I said, Senator Leahy, I just said, you were friends with President Carter? And he said, yes, he was. And I believe there's only 2 senators left that served with Jimmy Carter in the Senate. They're both very young men in their early 30s. One is President Biden.
Well, yeah, Biden's not in the Senate, though, anymore.
No. And one is Senator Leahy.
And Grassley.
No, he came in the 80s.
I don't know. He came in the 70s, I think.
Okay, we'll have to check that. Chuck Grassley is 90 years old.
We'll get our fact checkers on that.
Mr. Biden, your eulogy was great. We now need to return this whole show, and the rest of the show is about one thing: the legacy, the history, the majesty, the brilliance of President Carter. Our wonderful, wonderful engineer, Mr. Kevin Harms, has got a photo montage, and we have clips. We haven't seen these. This is President Carter at Annapolis and his graduation in 1946. He just missed World War II. He trained as a nuclear engineer under Admiral Hiram Rickover. There he is. Hey, that's a crazy part, huh, in this hair?
Wow.
Okay, let's do some narration, Owen. He was a young man on his way.
Some more in the Navy.
Navy officer.
Served as a Navy officer for a long time.
Yes.
And served, and he was roommates with the first African-American person to attend the Naval Academy.
And that was by choice.
And that was by choice. Yeah, pretty incredible.
There he is. You know, he was a young Southern boy, smart guy, got in the Naval Academy. There he is, I believe, maybe on his wedding day. He married Miss Rosalind Carter. She was 19. He was maybe 21, 22. Hey, look at her. She was the best, wasn't she?
I didn't know her. But
No, but look at that smile. 77 years of marriage. There he is on the nuclear subs. No joke. This is when the Cold War was really hot, Owen. Kevin, thank you for these photos. This looks like his Navy buddies and maybe some friends. We're having fun with this. We're seeing him as you are. There's President Carter. It looks like maybe during the time he was governor.
Yeah, running.
How about those lapels?
Maybe a state senator, who knows?
How about those lapels, man?
Yeah.
Now what happened to him was his father developed cancer, and Jimmy resigned from the Navy. Rosalind was very much against it because he had a bright future. He was going to be an admiral. But he was all about family. He came back to take care of the family peanut farm in Sumter County in Plains, Georgia, way in the middle of nowhere, hard by the Alabama border. Now there he is. In the 60s, he became a state senator. He was one of the first white state senators to vote to end desegregation. Now here he is, 1975, announcing for president. There he is with Amy and Rosalind. He toured the country for a couple years. In the beginning, he was very behind. Check out those socks, man.
That's 70s for sure. That's 70s. That's pretty incredible.
What they would do, the Carter team would play the journalists, like Hunter Thompson.
Oh, yeah.
There's a love affair right there. That's on the plane. Look how happy she is. Boy, those are good people.
Inauguration, there it is.
Chief Justice Warren Burger, Jimmy Carter. That's on
one of the shortest inaugural speeches. Fun fact.
Look how happy they looked that night. President Carter was on top of the world. But the 70s were a tough time. There he is with his family. His mom was named Miss Lillian Carter. She was very well known too. She joined the Peace Corps when she was in her 60s. extremely well known, lived into his presidency. His brothers and sisters were interesting characters.
She was a nurse.
Yeah, his other sister was an evangelist. His other brother was a real character. His name was Billy Carter, and they named a beer after him. He was kind of the black sheep of the family, but in a good old boy way. There he is in Air Force One. Did a lot of traveling. Mm-hmm. Look, always in the moment, that man.
Yeah. White House Christmas.
Wow, look at that tree.
That is pretty incredible.
You know, it was cool. Amy was only 9 when they went to the White House. So he had a kid, expert fly fisherman, also knew how to turn the flies, but very much about catch and release too. Okay, here we are in the Middle East at Camp David. That's Menachem Begin next to him. There they are walking. They took advantage of Camp David. They love to go to Camp David. Camp David is a place where the president can walk in the woods by himself.
Yep.
And he can be alone, as only a president can be alone. There was his extended family, his sons with a 70s haircut. There he is.
Official portrait.
Everyone would joke about his big toothy grin, but he really did have a great smile.
It's pretty iconic.
Oh, classic. Kevin, thank you for all this. This is at the Democratic National Convention in 1980 when he and Walter Mondale. Another thing about President Carter, he really worked well with his vice president.
Yeah.
Included them in stuff, was part of the family. Here's, the president goes anywhere, everywhere. Someone wants to talk to him. I believe that's in his furniture workshop.
Okay.
He was like a professional grade. He could make
I
beautiful.
heard that he made a cradle for each of his great-grandkids or grandkids.
Now that looks him in his late 70s and 80s. Mm-hmm. What a great couple, huh? He's a big Atlanta Braves fan.
Really? I mean, of course, you got to be right.
But you know what he stopped doing? He stopped doing the chop. He didn't feel it was right.
That's not right. Habitat for Humanity. He was a big volunteer on Habitat for Humanity. He built
for 35 years.
Yeah, probably hundreds of homes, or helped build hundreds.
Thousands, they say.
Yeah, thousands.
He was a heady cat. Look, playing chess and with a book.
Probably a Bible.
Let's talk about Habitat for Humanity. That was where you go into a community with volunteers and you build a house from scratch and you stay there till it's done.
Yep.
There he is, probably teaching Sunday school. That's at the Carter Center. That was a partnership, Owen.
Oh yeah, like no one else. I mean, Jason Carter's eulogy was talking about how he spent 4 years in the governor's mansion, 4 years in the White House, and then the other 92 years in Plains, Georgia with Rosalind, pretty much. She only died last year.
Now, Andrew Young, who's a former ambassador to the UN and congressman, and also right-hand man of Martin Luther King, he said, and he's 92 years of age, he said, and he was speaking without notes, like, this guy was from Plains, Georgia? How did he become elected president?
Yeah, it's shocking.
He didn't have a lot of influence. Father was a farmer.
He was the first president from the Deep South since
Great picture right there.
1841 or something.
Yeah. There are the Carters. Here's one thing about them. I think a secret to old age is they kept going. They were doing stuff.
Oh yeah, there's those videos of him building the houses at 90, 95.
Right. Teaching Sunday school at 97. Mm-hmm.
And the Carter Center, which is his primary legacy, I think is really important to mention here.
Emory University.
They did incredible global peace work, voting rights work, as well as eradicating the guinea worm, which was a disease that existed and affected thousands of people in Africa every single year, basically debilitating their legs or joints.
Okay, just to interrupt. Yeah. That's the last picture I've ever seen. That was at Rosalind's funeral. Yep. And he made it up to Atlanta at age 99. You can see he's pretty weakened, but still talking to someone.
Yeah. And
okay, incredible. Talk more about the Carter Center is at Emory University.
Yeah, and guinea worm, basically, he said, he said basically, how long are you going to live, or something like that, and he was like, I hope the first guinea worm the last guinea worm dies before I do, and he ended up, there were thousands of cases a year in the 70s, 80s, and then now that last year there were 12 cases of guinea worm in all of Africa, thanks to the Carter Center's work, and they're really an international organization that's respected.
He eradicated a disease.
I want to thank my predecessor for all he has done to heal our land. In this outward and physical ceremony, we attest once again to the inner and spiritual strength of our nation. As my high school teacher, Miss Judy Coleman, used to say, we must adjust to changing times and still hold to unchanging principles. Here before me is a Bible used in the inauguration of our first president in 1789. And I have just taken the oath of office on the Bible my mother gave me just a few years ago, opened to a timeless admonition from the ancient prophet Micah. He has showed thee, O man, what is good, and what doth the Lord require of thee, but to do justly, and to love mercy, and to walk humbly with thy God. This inauguration ceremony marks a new beginning, a new dedication within our government, and a new spirit among us all. A president may sense and proclaim that new spirit, but only a people can provide it. 2 centuries ago, our nation's birth was a milestone in the long quest for freedom. But the bold and brilliant dream which excited the founders of this nation still awaits its consummation. I have no new dream to set forth today, but rather urge a fresh faith in the old dream. Ours was the first society openly to define itself in terms of both spirituality and human liberty. It is that unique self-definition which has given us an exceptional appeal, but it also imposes on us a special obligation to take on those moral duties which, when assumed, seem invariably to be in our own best interest. You have given me a great responsibility to stay close to you, to be worthy of you, and to exemplify what you are. Let us create together a new national spirit of unity and trust. Your strength can compensate for my weakness, and your wisdom can help to minimize my mistakes. Let us learn together and laugh together and work together and pray together, confident that in the end we will triumph together in the right.
Minutes. Hey, thank you, Kevin, for setting that up. As you know, we were laughing here off camera. President Carter was a very serious guy, okay? I think sometimes people make him into something he wasn't. Very spiritual guy. Always had the world view, always looking to help someone.
Yep.
Always listening to learn. You know, he wrote 32 books.
Really?
I want to write one. I want to write one. I do.
Get started right now. It's never too late.
At the conventions, you know. We have a couple. So what we're going to do, folks, we're going to be on for about 8 more minutes. We're going to come around very quickly about town meeting. Town meeting is Tuesday, March 4th, 50 days away. The elections, everything will be posted. You'll be mailed a ballot. But there's one thing I haven't done yet. My COVID rap.
Oh, yeah.
Why don't you do it this time?
I don't know your COVID rap.
Okay. There's still COVID.
There is.
People are still dying of COVID.
Some people I know got COVID last week.
They did?
Yeah.
How are they doing?
They're doing great. Because they're vaccinated.
I've had 6 shots. I have never really had, I don't think I had a serious case of COVID. Oh, and what about you? No, right?
I was sick once.
But how are you on your shots? You're great.
I have my shots, yep.
So, look, we're still dealing with COVID. We're still dealing with the different economy, just the way of going about things. If you are having trouble, if you're worried about paying rent or heating bill, or you don't have any money, or you're drinking too much, or maybe using drugs, or just feel a little hopeless, the state has a number for you. Kevin, thanks for putting that up. And that is 211. Please call that. You can also, where we are, you can go over to Community Health and get your shot, or at any drugstore. The shot doesn't hurt. I think this last shot, I actually said to the nurse, "Are you sure you got it?" I didn't even feel it. Okay, we have 7 minutes left. So,
talk about some of his legislative achievements as president, or?
Do we have more pictures at all, Kevin? We could do those.
No, we're out of pictures.
Okay, we've done our pictures. Well, the legislative...
He created the Department of Energy.
And the Department of Education.
And the Department of Education, which are 2 things that are on the chopping block pretty soon, it feels like.
I don't think they will, though.
He really focused on U.S. energy policy and, making sure we're not relying on foreign countries, and also green energy. Installed solar panels at the White House.
And who took them down?
And told Reagan, and then told Americans that they should, save more energy and things like that, which was unpopular.
He had this famous speech where he kind of accused America of, lift your head up. And Jimmy kind of was like the old school teacher. He wasn't afraid to tell you straight, okay? He was a very, very, very serious man.
Yeah.
And I think he took less holiday time than, he took 20 days vacation in 4 years or something crazy. He also was part of the 70s, would do a lot of jogging, a lot of health stuff. He also deregulated the airline industry.
Yep. Created craft beer through deregulation as well.
Wow.
That's a big one. And so, a lot of things in deregulation that he achieved. He created FEMA. He also created, he wrote like we mentioned earlier, negotiated the Camp David Accords, creating peace in the Middle East.
Now, what that basically was for people, that was in 1978. And that's where, after centuries, millenniums, since Moses and Adam, Egypt and Israel decided to have peace. And that peace is held. Now, he could have won the Nobel Prize for that. I think those guys won.
They both did.
He could have been a dual winner.
Yep. And then...
Okay, so let's talk about the funeral. It was really amazing. You had 5 living presidents there. You had a lot of vice presidents there. I appreciated Al Gore being there. I really love him too. Dan Quayle, I think Dick Cheney, Mike Pence.
Dick Cheney, I don't think was there actually.
No, okay. Mike Pence seeing Trump for the first time in 4 years and shaking his hand. His wife didn't feel too good about meeting Mr. Trump, did she?
Yeah, tried to kill him, so I get it.
So, okay, let's talk about Mr. Trump. Okay, we have campaigned against him. I've campaigned against him 3 times. Okay, he won fair and square. He tapped into an energy that somehow we missed out on. I think we peaked too early. We had some trouble switching from one candidate to another. Perhaps we should have talked more about employment, inflation. But President Trump won. I'm just hoping that he takes what President Biden said in the eulogy. Character, character, character. Kindler and gentler, to use President Bush's terms. President Trump, you're not watching this.
He's someone that people can really admire just like you said, because of his integrity, because of his commitment to human rights, his commitment to humanitarianism, his commitment to the causes that other people weren't really paying attention to, and was like somebody
HIV.
that, really treated everyone with a lot of respect, no matter who they were, whether they were working in the White House or in Congress or just someone from Plains, Georgia. He's someone that really had a really profound impact on the world.
I think of his friends: Muhammad Ali, Nelson Mandela, Bob Dylan.
Yeah, we didn't even talk about the music side of it. He was the first rock and roll president.
So we have
good friends with Bob Dylan.
Okay, we're going to talk for one more minute, and then we're going to go out with film. I need to congratulate my friend Speaker Jill Kowinski for a good job.
Yep.
Jill, thanks for getting reelected.
And President Phil Baruth.
Senator Phil Baruth from the New North End. Jill lives just a few blocks from here. I think you're a great speaker and a great friend, and Philip, you do a great job too. So we're glad to all our people in Burlington. If you ever go down to Montpelier and sit in the gallery, maybe talk to your reps, see what's on your mind. For the council campaign, the #1 issue will be public safety. Can you riff on that, and can you go into the film, please?
Yeah, I think a lot of folks are worried about public safety. Certainly, it's a concern of a lot of people, so I think that's going to be on the ballot this year. Andrew's has a very big concern about public safety, as well as like homelessness is a major concern of mine, housing, things like that, which all really contribute to public safety in Burlington and community safety in general. So definitely a lot of work to do. So be sure to think about that and talk to your candidates about that and decide who you want to be supporting. And I think we have a few minutes of some film to roll us on out of here.
So we would like to thank everyone. This is a special show. I'd like to thank Owen. We have some credits at the end. President Carter, thank you. Thank you for being inspiring. Yep. We could sit here for 2 more hours and talk about him. We didn't even talk about the music. How when he was running for president out of money, the Allman Brothers and Bob Dylan said, hey, we're going to play music for you. God bless you, President Carter. I wish luck to everyone. Good luck, President Trump. Good luck to this wonderful country. See what you can do to help Burlington. Vote in town meeting. We're going to duck out, and we're going to go to film right now. Thank you so much.
At the beginning of this millennium, I was asked to discuss here in Oslo the greatest challenges that the world faces. Among all the possible choices, I decided that the most serious and universal problem is a growing chasm between the richest and poorest people on earth. It's interesting to note that citizens of the 10 wealthiest countries are now 75 times richer than those who live in the 10 poorest ones. And the separation is increasing every year, not only between nations, but within them. The results of this disparity are the root causes of most of the world's unresolved problems, including starvation, illiteracy, environmental degradation, violent conflict, and unnecessary illnesses that range